Let's see what Don Cherry thinks about this. Don Cherry joins Greg Brady and Jeff Blair on Hockey Central at noon. Mr. Cherry, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for doing it, guys. Hey, listen, they've got a winner here in this guy. I mean, he's always been competitive. When you think about it, he's doing it on a shoestring there, and he's going against New York Rangers and Washington, and he was always a winner up there. So you imagine what he's going to do with Toronto when the money's unlimited. So he'll think he's died and gone to heaven and say, "Don't worry about the money."
Don, you've got Mike Babcock, Brendan Shanahan, Lou Lamoriello, Mark Hunter. You got a lot of personalities in one room. How do you think that's going to work out? There's a lot of Stanley Cups there. There's a lot of rings. There's a lot of opinions.
Well, the thing is, you got to leave Hunter alone to be the draft. I mean, you can't. That's the number one. You can't be sticking your nose in there because that's what they hired. He's the best at it. And although his later drafts, I'm not too happy, but he's the guy. I think that Shanahan, as you've seen, he's kept in the background. He hasn't made as much as he can. And Lou is the guy. I mean, I think that he'll listen to Lou. I mean, let's face it, the guy has always been there. I mean, and I remember one year he drafted 4 guys from Ontario, so he's okay in my book. He's a Stanley Cup winner, and if I remember, he had something like 1,300 point seasons. So, I mean, and here's the funny thing. Everybody says that his team plays boring defensive hockey. If you take a look over the year, they had as many shots as anybody else. What they did, they played good, sound hockey. But I'll tell you one thing. He's a guy that doesn't like to see goals scored on him, and I know Marty had a lot to do with it. But I tell you, he's coached. I mean, he was coached. I remember, and I think it was 2005, 2006. He coached and he put them in first place. So you're not going to fool him on anything. So I think it's the best guy they could have got.
It's Don Cherry joining us, Jeff Blair and Greg Brady here as Lou Lamoriello will get introduced as Maple Leafs general manager at 2 o'clock today. We'll carry live Sportsnet 590, the Fan Sportsnet 360. They haven't done quite as well, Don. I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in 12, but they've missed the playoffs a few times, a lot of early first-round exits. It feels like Lou has struggled at times, or is this just a guy who it's tough when your Hall of Famers leave? The Hall of Famers, Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayers, Martin Brodeurs, they're really tough to replace, aren't they?
Well, I think in my personal opinion, and I like Marty Brodeur, don't get me wrong, but I think he showed a little too much loyalty to Marty. I mean, he won all those cups and the Olympics and all that stuff and everything, and I used to watch the games, and I suppose I'll get in trouble with Marty, but he let in a lot of goals and I think he stuck with Marty a little too long, and that's one of the things happened. And when Scott, he lost a lot of guys, and like I say, You're in that market where New York Rangers is. It's a pretty tough market, but lately, yes. But it wasn't his. I really don't believe it's his fault. It was he didn't have the players. That's all. You don't have the players. There's not much you can do about it.
Don Cherry joining Greg Brady and Jeff Blair on Hockey Central at noon. Mike Babcock. At some point, there are decisions that are going to have to be made, Don, about stuff that's actually going on in the room or on the ice. And again, big personalities here. Do you think Mike knew, or do you think Brendan would have had to tell Mike when they were talking originally that, hey, one of the things we have going is we may bring Lou Lamoriello over? Like, you just don't drop this on your head coach you just signed basically to a lifetime contract, do you?
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, especially a guy like Babcock. I mean, this guy, he doesn't, when it comes to on the ice and stuff like that, he doesn't take orders from anybody. I remember in the Olympics, they said, well, you have to take these 2 guys. He said, okay, take them. I just won't play them. And that's the way he is, and he didn't play them. So you're not going to tell him anything how to coach or anything like that. This has got to be a guy that Shanahan said he's going out and get the best coach. He went out and got the best coach. He says, I'm going out and get the best scout. There's nobody any better than Mark Hunter, because I used to see him out 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night. He works at it, and the best general manager available. I mean, how could you get – I mean, if you go on the resume, how could you get a better guy than him? I mean, he's been down the road. He's a coach. He coached college hockey. He scouted. Look at the guys he's got. And besides that, I think he likes guys from Ontario. So I'm enthused about it when I hear that. But anyhow, I'll be keeping an eye on him on the draft too. But him and Mark, I mean, if Mark goes in and talks it over with him, and here's a guy that's won all those cups and everything like that, you got to listen to him too.
Maybe it's also, I'd bet you, Don, it's also good for Ray Shero as well. I mentioned to Jeff, Lou's got such a dynamic, iconic presence in New Jersey. For Ray Shero to do his job in New Jersey now, it's like our business, right? Johnny Carson leaves the Tonight Show. Jay Leno doesn't want to see Johnny wandering the hallways. And it's like that with college football coaches. Guys who build iconic programs sometimes are still in the building, and it doesn't help the new guy get too adjusted, you know?
No, because when he makes a move, right away they say, well, Lou wouldn't have made that move.
Right.
Or he's making a move, he's looking over, he doesn't mean to look over his shoulder, but when he's hanging around, no, he's the happiest guy in the world to get Lou out of there. Not that he's personality that, but when you have a guy like him hanging around and you're trying to do your job, everybody's thinking, well, Lou wouldn't do that. So, no, it's good. And I remember when I was coach, I went over there a few times, and I saw him and Pat Burns. And when you hire a guy, I remember the great relationship those two guys had. It was like it was beautiful. So, yeah, he's worked with guys like Pat Burns who have, let's face it, Pat Burns is like Babcock. They're their own man in that. So if you can work with Pat Burns, and he was Coach of the Year, you remember that you can work with anybody. And Pat, he reminded me of Babcock. He's his own man, marches to his own drum.
Don, they have Mike Babcock here, Lou Lamoriello here, Phil Kessel's gone. We've talked a lot about culture change in the Maple Leafs dressing room. This is I wouldn't say shockingly different team than it was last year, but are you surprised even, Don, at just how different the culture is around this team right now than at the end of the year? Did you think Brendan could pull this off?
No, I didn't think he could get all these guys. I really didn't. I call him a fine broth of a lad, and every time, and I did give him heck when he fined Wyszynski of all that money and everything. So we were, but no, and he's. I never thought he'd get to get Babcock. I mean, you got to do some fast talking because I guess the guy in Buffalo was throwing money around pretty good, and you get Lou. I mean, think about going in and talking to Lou Lamoriello. He's an American. And you're having him come in, this got to be some pretty good smooth talking there. And for a guy that's kept in the background, the stat guy seems to be doing all the talking. But no, I really didn't. I really believe they're going to keep Phaneuf too. Babcock's going to work with him because if you remember, he was trying to get him in Detroit. So I think he'll straighten out Phaneuf. Kessel had to go. I don't know whether I would have got rid of him or not, 31, but to change the culture, he had to go, and and he's changed the culture. There's no about that. I don't know. They're going to be fighting for the playoffs again. Let's not face it. They're not going to be. This isn't home free. This is off the ice. This is not. It's not on the ice. So they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. But boy, I've never seen an organization change so many things for the better. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about fighting for the playoffs is they'll have to decide how badly they want it. I think we're going to debate a lot in September, October, whether this team is designed to compete or whether some teams just kind of take their foot off the gas for a year or two, Don. I mean, we can't argue that's sort of what the Sabres did, and yet they missed out on Ekblad and missed out on McDavid, but I think they're a better team than they were 3 years ago because they got bad.
Oh, yeah, and not only that, they signed a good goaltender. I really gave it to the general manager Murray there for getting the way they got treated, Nolan and that. But I got to admit, you better be better in that division because they're going to be better in that division too. So with all the moves and Lou and Babcock and Hunter and all that there, that's all right to do it off the ice. But now they got to do it on the ice, and they will eventually. I mean, you really, I hate to say it, you really have to work to, the word is this up, and. I like the way Shanahan's done it. I really do. I think I think the money they're spending. I don't think any other club could spend the money that off the ice that they're spending, and Toronto can do it. And why not? I mean, why not? They got the money. Why you can't spend it on the ice? Let's spend it and get the best guys off the ice. It makes sense.
There's no salary cap in the front office, is there, Don?
It better not be, or we're all in trouble.
Grapes, listen, we appreciate you joining us today as always. Been a real treat to talk to you. Thank you, man.
Okay, guys. Toodaloo.